point, it goes live. It doesn't matter. Who cares, right? So
they're going to jump in and we're going to be in hysterics already, like no value whatsoever, just laughing.
Ah! Yeah, freeze frame or something like that, Neen. So yeah, but I think we're live now, so we can talk to people. So hey everyone, so it's Phil Gerbyshak. I am here with the amazing Neen James. So Neen's got a new book out called Attention Pays, but let me give you a little backstory on Neen because she is awesome. She has written other books, Folding Time, fantastic book. She's a spunky little Aussie who is just so sweet. And when I started in the National Speakers Association 5 years ago now, this year, 5 years, Neen was my first buddy.
Oh, I loved being your buddy. I love that program.
Yeah. So you were so sweet to me, and then I realized how smart and awesome you are after spending the last 5 years just kind of in your shadow, watching your goodness. So I'm so excited to be with you today.
You
How you doing?
Not in my shadow. You take that back. You are right there beside me, having fun all the way. I remember when we first met because Michael Goldberg, big props to Michael Goldberg, who has been fundamental in starting this buddy program for the National Speakers Association. And so you were my buddy. So I reached out to you in advance and said, hey, guess what? I'm going to be taking care of you or helping you with anything you want. I think you were my date too for the NSA Foundation event as well.
Yeah.
You came to that. We had so much fun. So I love seeing not only what you did at your first event, but how you have always adopted other people. So you're really good at like seeing if someone needs to be brought into a conversation and paying attention to them and making them feel welcome. You got super involved in the groups. You've been involved in your chapter. I mean, I was just there at your first one, but my God, honey, you have like rocked that community.
Oh, well, thank you. So it's been a pleasure. And a lot of that is all about having attention for other people, right? And making time for other people and putting them first. So I got to ask, though, Neen, why did you write this book, Attention Pays? I mean, we all know to pay attention. Come on now. Isn't this so obvious?
So that's the thing, though. I think, people say to me all the time, why don't we pay attention? Well, see, that's the wrong question. We are paying attention. We just aren't paying attention to the right people, the right things, the right way. And so I think you're right. I mean, think about it, Phil. We get told to pay attention, like our teachers tell us to pay attention. Our parents tell us to pay attention. We even tell our kids to pay attention. So we've been telling people and hearing it, like so often it's kind of annoying when people say like, pay attention. But I think what's happening is we're just not paying the right kind of attention. One of the things we explore in the book is how do we pay intentional attention, thinking about the choices we make and the actions we take. So I think it's about choosing who's going to be the center of your attention, what's going to be the center of your attention, and how you're going to show up in the world. I think that's very different.
Yeah, I totally agree. So as we think about that, right? So first, how do we choose, Neen? I mean, what is the key to choosing so that we can have the things that you talk about in the book, right? More profitability, more productivity, and more accountability. How do we make those choices?
Well, think about attention. One of the things we talked about in the book is that we have this attention framework. But the framework is really we pay attention in three ways. Personally, it's who do you want to pay attention to? That's about being very thoughtful. Professionally, it's about what you pay attention to, and that's about being productive. And then the third way is globally, how are you paying attention in the world? And that's about being responsible. So when it comes to choices, Phil, it's really about thinking who deserves my attention right here, right now. Right? So that could be a colleague at work. It might be someone that you share your life with. It might be a hot date that you're on. So that's really about the who. But professionally, when we're showing up at work, it's really about focusing our attention on what deserves our attention. What's going to give us the highest productivity, the highest, what I call ROA, your return on attention. And then globally means different things to different people. It might mean your community. It might mean the planet. It might be like, I can't drive like a sexy Tesla like some of our friends have, but like you mightn't be a card carrying like Greenpeace person, so you may not care about the planet, but maybe globally you care about creating a recycling program at work, or maybe you care about serving as a volunteer in your community. There's so many choices we can make, Phil, but it starts with us first about who is that immediate need, what is the need, and how you're going to do it.
Awesome. Awesome. So the who and the what, that's right now, that gives us, that earns our attention. So how do we give people, though, our full attention so that it makes the most difference? Because that's the hardest thing, right? We say we give attention like we do priorities, and then there's like 7 things we're paying attention to. So how do we lock into just one?
I think one of the first things we can think about is what distractions do you need to eliminate, right? So sometimes distractions are maybe our technology. So maybe it's the cell phones, maybe it's our computer. So thinking about what's distracting you from paying quality attention. It could be that you want to create some guidelines with people in your life where around the conversations you have or the meals you have or the meetings you have. So thinking about eliminating distractions first. I think that's one of the first things we have to think about. But we also have to think about what's going to give us that highest ROA, that highest return on attention. And what that might mean is if you're working on a work project, what do you need to switch off? What meetings do you need to decline? What time do you need to schedule in order to achieve the completion of a project or an initiative? So it's not just about eliminating distractions. It's also about making sure that you're scheduling the resources you have, your time, your attention, and your energy.
Excellent. Excellent. So that makes so much sense. And yet so often we're unwilling or maybe unable to do that. So do you struggle with paying attention to, Neen, or are you now the expert? And this is easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you think about it, there are so many amazing opportunities for us to pay attention in the wrong ways. Now, social media I love, right? I have this love-hate relationship with Facebook. And what I love about it is I get to connect with a wider community. I get to see my family who live in Australia. So there's things I love about it. What I hate about it is that it is potentially an incredible time waster. And I can have so much more enjoyment looking at people's vacation photos than I can writing a proposal for a client or preparing a keynote speech. So I absolutely do. But what I've had to learn to do is to try and really master my attention by doing little things, Phil, like turning everything off or scheduling time to work on certain projects or making sure I get up and have a break. But I think what we have to do is just be super mindful of the fact that we do have a very split attention span. See, there's this crazy, stupid thing going around that people say we have the attention span of a goldfish. Well, who measured the goldfish? Who sat there with a stopwatch and said, we have the attention span of a goldfish? That's not true. It was a marketing branding thing that went crazy town. And I don't want my attention compared to that of a goldfish. However, I do believe we split our attention. And so we have to think about what's distracting us, who's taking our attention, what's taking our attention, and how can we share our attention more with others. So it is about diligence, that's for sure.
So paying attention to what we're giving our attention helps us be more intentional about that, right? And helps us get more on that. So cool. So Neen, I want to know this, though. How long did it take you to write this book? And did you give it your full attention, or did it split up between other stuff?
So it's interesting because the conversation came out of... It was a conversation I was having with Mark Sanborn. So you and I know Mark Sanborn is truly one of the best speakers. He has a number of books, Fred Factor. He has so many great books, The Encore Effect. And he and I were talking one day about this whole evolution of my intellectual property. So I've always been known in the area of productivity, but I kept saying to him, it's more than that, it's more than that. And then he said to me, Neen, what do you want? And I was like, I just want the world to pay attention. And he said, of course you do. That's always been something that's important to you. And so what I realized was attention was the evolution of productivity. We can't manage time. Time's going to happen whether you like it or not. Time's a great equalizer. It's not prejudice. Time's going to happen. You and I feel we get the same 1,440 minutes in a day. You can't manage time, but you can manage your attention. And I realized that we were trying to, focus on something that is fixed like time, and we really need to focus on something that is flexible, and that's our attention. And that's how this whole work came about. And then I realized, and as I started to get more obsessed with how do people pay attention? What happens when we don't pay attention? What are the costs of not paying attention? And what are the results when we do? It uncovered for me so many examples, not just in my own life, but with my clients. And was sometimes it's about eliminating the bad attention we get. Sometimes it's about attracting great attention. And so all of the work that I'd been doing through my career probably led me to this point where I was like, that's the conversation right now. It needs to be about our attention, because never in history have we been more distracted than we are. Never in history have we had exposure to so much information, which is amazing. But if you think about just that, Phil, you know, because you spend time in the marketing space, we are bombarded with all these amazing messages. Who do we listen to? What do we pay attention to? And so I think we're living in a very unique time where attention is absolutely the hottest topic.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dawn is on. Dawn Waite says that she loves the idea of managing our attention. So let's talk a little bit more about that, Neen, and how important it is to manage and get our arms around the power of attention.
Dawn is very smart that she's tuned into that phrase, because it is something we can manage. So Phil, you are the most important person for me to talk to right now, which means all of the things around me that could potentially distract me get turned off. I don't care what happens in my world while I have the privilege of sitting and chatting to you. So managing our distractions is making that choice of the actions we're taking. My choice right now is to be fully present with you and all of these wonderful people who have joined us. And so that's really about that choice. So managing is about simplicity. Using people's names. Like using people's names, Phil, is like a no-cost attention grabbing strategy, right? So if you want to manage your attention, start looking for opportunities to use people's names in your conversation. Maybe your barista, maybe the people at school pickup, maybe the people that you serve on a board with. But using people's names more is an easy way to manage our attention, because we have to pay attention. We have to tune in and learn that person's name and develop that engagement with them. It could be the simplicity of looking up and looking in the eyes with someone. You know, I learned how to pay attention from my 5-year-old friend. And it was my friend Donovan who he and I were in this very heated debate about something. And then he said to me, Neen, you have to listen with your eyes. And it was such a powerful reminder of, like, we learn these lessons from kids, that one of the ways to manage our attention, to Dawn's point, is really listen with our eyes. And so I think we have to make choices all the time of the actions we take with our attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that so much. Listen with your eyes. Such a great thing. And our friend Marilyn Sherman is on. She says that people love it when you use their names, and we absolutely do, right? That's a natural thing. So thank you for sharing that, Marilyn. So Neen, when it comes to attention, though, not only do we have to use their names, but we have to make sure that we use their name correctly. So do you have any strategies for how to be more intentional about remembering their names, other than cheating and keeping and looking at their name tag?
Yeah, and I think, look, if you have to look at their name tag, do that. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you meet someone and you forget their name, I always say to them, can you remind me of your name? And so once I hear them say it, if it's an unusual name, then maybe I will repeat it, or I will ask them how to pronounce it. Now, the other thing that I do is when I'm in a meeting with someone or I'm on the phone with someone, I write their name down immediately. So if I call for help, I always write their name down immediately. If I'm in a meeting with someone, I will lay out all the business cards they give me in the order of which people are seated, so I can call on them and use their name that way. As a keynote speaker, when I meet people in advance of my presentation, I write their names down on a Post-it note, and then I take that Post-it note on stage with me so I can give them shout outs. I always learn all of the AV crew's name and the stage and production team and the meeting planner's name. And in my keynote, I recognize those people. So, you know, who is my role model for this? And Marilyn knows him. He's also a dear friend of hers and yours, Phil, is the president of High Point University, Dr. Nido Qubein. And he, for me, is the role model of intentional attention. Now, I have spoken at High Point several times, as has Marilyn, and she's been an artist in residence, and I write about Nido in my book. But here's the thing with Nido. He transformed this college to be this world-class university, and he's had these amazing successes. But the thing that impressed me the most, Phil, was every student who approached Nido, he knew their name. He's the president of the university. He's not even a teacher there. And what fascinated me is Nito knows attention pays. He understands that every student wants to be seen. They want to be heard. They're away from their families. And he makes them feel so important. And you've seen him do this walking the halls of the National Speakers Association. And so he, for me, was a really great role model of intentional attention. So when it comes to using people's names, if you go to the same service, the hair salon, the coffee place, you park your car, learn their names, write them down. And I actually put notes in my files of the receptionist of all my clients, the security guard's name. And what they're fascinated with is when I go back to those premises without their name tag, I still know their name. What you want to do is make people feel seen and heard. Our name is an easy way to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And one thing that Mark Ensign just brought up here is in emails, he says, it drives me nuts and sends me into a passive-aggressive tirade when someone sends me an email and spells my name with a K because my email address clearly states that it's a C, and it's clearly not important to them.
Yeah, so, Mark's right. And Mark is a very cool human and does some really cool things in the world. Mark and I have a challenge in that Mark has, his parents chose for him a C instead of a K, and the world knows Mark as a K. My name is Neen, and in email I get need because it automatically spells check it, or I get mean. So when people are writing to me or they meet me, they're like, Mean, is that your name? So I totally understand, Mark. But what it shows is that people aren't paying attention, that they're so quickly writing that email. And it's the same as when you get mail and it's been spelled incorrectly to you with your name wrong. You don't want to open that necessarily. It's not that people are intentionally doing the wrong thing. It's actually that they're being thoughtless, not thoughtful. And so what they're doing is just typing, allowing spell check to automate it, and then they send it out. But imagine if we just took that extra second to pay attention and check, is the spelling right? Is the person's name right? And Mark with the C, I totally understand where you're coming from.
Awesome. So Dawn shared that using people's name focuses you, and then intentional attention engages both of you. I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, beautifully said, Dawn. And I think when it comes to intentional attention, think about it as not just the choices we make, but also how we're choosing to invest in more. It's not a transaction then, it's truly an intention. I think a lot of attention is transactional. You order your coffee, you don't even look up from your phone, you pay the person, and then you go on your way. And so it's a transaction, whereas the way to make it intentional, like Dawn's picking up, is looking up, using their name, thanking them, asking them about their day without taking a lot of time. This is really about being thoughtful. And I think we have choices to hold the door open for someone, hold the elevator, help someone up, grab a bag from the overhead. There's so many ways that we can pay intentional attention. If we stop being so focused on ourselves and we start taking those blinkers off and looking at the wider world, we see all these great opportunities to be kind. We see these great opportunities just to be a better human for people around us. To me, that's about being thoughtful, not thoughtless.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are the queen of being thoughtful, Neen. I still remember and love the socks that you sent me, knowing how much I love socks. That just made my day, because it wasn't just a gift. It was a gift that was thoughtful, that showed that you paid attention. And I think, that is one thing that really stands out about you, Neen, is that not only have you written this wonderful book called Attention Pays, but you have taken the time to really pay attention to other people and to be intentional and live an intentional life.
You don't only wear fabulous socks, but I know that you match your socks with your glasses color. Now that is cool. That is impressive. Like, that is something that people may not know about you, Phil, but I've always loved that about your attention to detail, is your socks match your glasses. I mean, that rocks. That's incredible. And if you didn't know about that about Phil, now you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So Neen, let's talk a little bit more about the book here. We've got about 5 or 7 more minutes here that we can talk about this. So I'm curious, are your parents like real attentive people? Did they help embrace, instill this in you, or what? Did this really come through the work world?
You know, for me, I was very fortunate that I was one of those kids who was initially raised as a single, like with a single mom. And so there was me and my sister and my mom. And so my mom did whatever she could to make sure that we were trying to be the best humans we could be in the world. She then found my stepdad, and then they created a whole nother family unit for us. One of the things I've always admired about my mom is the person everyone wants to be around. So whether it was a church picnic or it was a family event, everyone wanted to talk to my mom. My mom has this amazing personality, and she's so kind and she's fun. And then I had an Auntie Carol, and Auntie Carol, she's just like the coolest chick on the planet. And the two of them were hilarious. And I still watch the way that they interacted as sisters, and I always admired that. So as a kid, I've had this demonstrated to me about how do you truly make sure that whoever you're talking to is having fun with you and they feel like they're kind of the center of your attention. And so my mom has been great at that. My Auntie Carol has been great at that. And so I think we have this responsibility that to be role models of attention. And so I grew up with really great role models, right? And my mom, and remember when I grew up, there wasn't such thing as Facebook. And so we had to like create our own conversations, and we had to, like, I wrote handwritten letters. I still do, right? So my mom, I think, was one of the best role models for me growing up. My Auntie Carol, definitely one of my best role models. And I think when you have that privilege of growing up in those kinds of families and communities, it shows you the power of attention, that sometimes it's just that little bit of stopping and listening. And my mom has always been great at that, and still is to this day. I'm still fortunate to have both of my parents around. So I just saw Michael's comment.
Yeah. The apple hasn't fallen from the tree.
I love Michael Baba. He's one of my loves. He's such a good man.
Oh. And is Christine Scanlon, is that your mom?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
She just says that's my daughter you're talking.
Oh my God, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Hi, Neen's mom. We're so glad that you're here.
One of the reasons I wrote this book, this is hilarious, which I don't think I've actually ever told anyone, but I wanted, when Wiley approached me about writing the book, I didn't really want to go with a traditional publisher. I had no desire to do that. I probably shouldn't say that in public. But when they asked me about it, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if my mom could walk into a bookstore and she could see my book on the shelf? So really, that's one of the reasons I went with traditional publishing, was just so that my mom would be able to see it, and then she could tell her friends in Australia, hey, my daughter's in the bookstore.
Yay! That's so fun.
That's so funny.
So, yeah, that is really funny. So that's neat that your mom is on and that she recognizes that. I mean, I can tell you that, when we think about attention, right, the attention that we got as kids likely is the attention that we give now a lot of times. So That's really neat that your mom is on and able to share that with you. I know my mom is on Facebook too, and she enjoys a lot of this stuff too. So she'll probably watch the replay if she's not on. And maybe it's pretty cool that we can share that.
And maybe if people didn't get that attention that they wanted as a kid, maybe they get to then make the choice as an adult to do things differently, right? So while I don't have little people of my own, I have two goddaughters who are like the loves of my life. I have nieces and nephews. I have people that I can care about. I have next door neighbors who I adore. So even if you don't have your own little people, that you just go find someone else's, that's what I did. And then you can show them the level of attention. We get this choice every single day. We get a choice to show up and give someone that attention, because you never know, like that one single interaction, Phil, or that one moment might create a memory that might last a lifetime for that person. If we were just to stop in that 1 minute, take that one moment and create a significant moment. That's what I think attention does, Phil. It creates these moments of significance that people then cherish, right? That's what memories are made of. And that's why I think attention is so important.
Attention creates a moment of significance.
Yes.
I think if there's no better way to wrap up your book with that point, attention creates a moment of significance. That is lovely. So if people are wanting to get more of the book, Neen, if they want to dive in and they want to really go deep into Attention Pays, where would we send them? How can they get more of your awesome sauce, Neen?
If you're watching this from the US, Amazon is an easy place for you. They're doing pre-orders right now, and it launches on the 2nd of April, so you'll get it pretty soon after that. Phil, you and I love the team at 800 CEO Read, and at the moment they have the book discounted. So if you want a little secret, go to 800 CEO Read and buy it from there, and then the more copies you buy, the cheaper it becomes. So they've done a brilliant job of taking care of some of my clients who bought large shipments for their teams. So I would go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, doesn't matter where you go, you will be able to find the book online.
Awesome. So they'll also, you also have a nice spot on your website that people can go to if you go to neenjames.com/attention-pays. And I just put a link down below in the comments. If you're listening to this live or recorded, get a copy of the book. You can go to 800 CO Read or Amazon. This is my dear friend, Neen James. She's an Australian firepower that's all about attention, productivity, and really living a life of significance. And I'm just delighted that she spent some time with us today, and that her mom joined us too, and Dawn and Marilyn and Mark Ensign and everyone that was here with us today. We are just so grateful for your attention today. Katie Freilich as well. Thank you, everyone, Katie, for being here. Just delighted, but do get a copy of Attention Pays. Neen James, thank you, my dear. This was awesome.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. My pleasure. So now comes the part where we do a little more dancing, because we're going to end the broadcast really soon, but it isn't quite ended. So people that are listening are like, Phil's the crazy guy. So,
I love that. That's awesome.